This is the Content Strategy Insights podcast, episode number 199. Content practice and semantic practice often go hand in hand. In their longtime consulting partnership, Ilse Jonker and Joyce van Aalten have taken collaboration around content structure and semantic meaning to new heights. Whether they're spanning organizational silos, coaching clients on how to evangelize their work to other stakeholders, or implementing a change management strategy, their common interest in structure always ties their work together.
Welcome to the Content Strategy Insights podcast, where accomplished content strategy experts share their wisdom with our friends in the content community. Our mission is to democratize content strategy, to make its principles and practices accessible to everyone. And now, here's your host, Larry Swanson.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode number 199 of the Content Strategy Insights podcast. I am really happy today to welcome to the show Joyce van Aalten and Ilse Jonker. They're based here in the Netherlands, where I currently live. They're longtime independent consultants. Joyce is a freelance taxonomy consultant, and Ilse is an independent and freelance content strategist. So welcome to the show. Joyce, tell the folks a little bit more about what you're doing these days.
Yeah, thanks, Larry, and thanks for having us at the show. I've been working on taxonomies since like 2000, I think. I graduated in library and information science. And as you already mentioned, currently I work as an independent taxonomy consultant. So I'm doing all kind of taxonomy, thesaurus, knowledge graph ontology projects. And I think I've seen like more than 50 companies in the past 20 years. I love the combination, so how I rolled in this, I love the combination of structure on one side and semantics on the other side. And I think that all started, so let me share a little secret, when I was a child and I had my own little library. That's so with all the books that I had, I put labels in it, and so friends could come over to my library. So I think structuring and semantics is like in my DNA. These days I still like to talk about taxonomies, also at birthday parties, but then people wander off to the bar, getting another drink. So that's why these days I share my knowledge via presentations, perhaps for instance at the taxonomy bootcamp, but also with customers.
Great. I hope there's childhood pictures of your library. I would love to see that. But
I still have some books actually here with all the labels in it. So that's the only thing that my heritage of the library.
Nice. And Ilse, tell the folks a little bit more about your work these days.
Hi Larry. Thanks for having us, and congratulations with this enormous number of podcasts, like 199. Whoa, it's an honor. Yeah, I am a freelance content strategist, and I'm working independent since 2006. And I started out as an internet project manager after graduating in liberal arts. And I specialized in new media, as it was called in 1996. We know, those folks know those times. And since 2006, I work independent, and I cover all aspects of the content strategy trades. I'm managing large content change projects. I love to coach younger content strategists. It's about content modeling, content operation assessments. And it's mostly about helping orgs through digital change. And I jokingly say about myself, I am an organizational therapist with an education practice. It's basically all about that change.
Nice. And that's just so you know, that's a truism that comes up so often on this podcast, that we're all really just therapists and doing our best to help people. But and how long have you two worked together? You've been a team for a while, right?
2012, I think.
I think we had to recall what our first project was. I think it's since 2012. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
So over the last 12 years, you've had a few good stories come up. And you talked about, when Ilse first wrote to me, she said, "Oh, we've seen things, man. We've seen things." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of ominous." But these stories inform like how you practice now. But like Joyce, you had one you wanted to share about a taxonomy project, right? Or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have a lot of stories I can share, but I think this is a nice one because the things I've seen in this project, it's not at this organization solely. It's also things I've seen in the other taxonomy projects, and I think this story also indicates that sometimes you have to be patient to achieve something. Also, I'm working on a taxonomy. Well, actually, for this organization, I started like in the pre-COVID time. So, like a few years ago, they came to me and said, "Okay, Joyce, you're a taxonomist. We want a taxonomy. Can you help us create one?" And I was like, "Okay, what do you want with it? What are your goals?" "Yeah, we have these ambitions, omni-channel, personalization, reusable." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." And I'm a taxonomist. I have my own library, so I was okay. Let's go for it. Now then, COVID. We started working on it. COVID hit this organization very hard, so it was a little bit quiet for a while. And then I think like 2-3 years ago, they came back to me with again the same ambitions and goals. I also said, this is not a taxonomy only project. You have to look at your content as well. So Ilse came in at the project, but also in the first conversations that we had, there were still these ambitions, but we also noticed that this organization was not really ready for it yet. So we described some prerequisites that we said, okay, you have to get your goals more clear, but we need a team, we need the right people, but we also need technology. They were still working in a content management system that wasn't ready for these ambitions and goals yet. So once again, we did a step back, and then a few months later, they came back and said, whoa, now we're gonna move to a new content management system. And it won't replace only one content repository, it will replace two. So that's when we got excited. And we see that, like a new content management system or any other system can be the trigger for having a taxonomy, but also a content model or whatever you need in semantic approach as a trigger point for that. So yeah, we started working on that, and in the taxonomy, I also found out very quickly that it's good to start small with, these ambitions are high, and I think then for taxonomy, you would like to create a huge, enormous beast of a taxonomy, but that won't work. So we started small over there. I started with a small taxonomy for one content management system for that content repository, and now it's time that that taxonomy will grow in terms of more concepts, more relationships, or other content repositories to cover in that sense. And that is something that I've seen also at other companies, and that's why I introduced the term, the MVT, the minimal viable taxonomy. So where you start small, and sometimes you just have to be patient, sit back for a while, and let it grow.
Nice. On that project, I'm curious, Ilse, how were you working together as that was unfolding? Because you mentioned the CMS and some other content stuff. Were you involved at that point in that project, Ilse?
And like Joyce said, like when the trigger was there, like there can be a like low periods, there's no change. Then there's one change, like we go headless, we have new CMS. And then she got me in. Joyce first worked with another content strategist. So yeah, we were in this org like a couple of years to accompany this change. Yeah, but we do not all projects together. But there's always a point when one starts in a project, and then the point is they're like, oh no, I need Joyce, because we are like a sort of yin and yang. I mean, it's we don't both structure. So Joyce, when she makes a taxonomy, it's a way of structuring concepts, and when I'm content modeling, I'm also structuring. So that's our common denominator, if you will. So there are projects we do separately.
Yes, but it's nice because we both work as solopreneurs, and that sometimes can get a little bit lonely, or, if you're like the only working external consultant working. So it's good to sometimes check in with each other. Did we see the same? Is this are they really going to buy that CMS or ignoring that content repository? And then we can say, yeah, you've seen that. Okay. So that's so reassuring.
With each other, and we can also mirror that back to an organization. So I always love the moment every organization we enter that there comes a point that they ask, are we bad? Is it worse with us than with other orgs? And we say, no, that's not. So, and it's we are honored that we are invited to enter this attic with all these systems and this old content and the redundancy, and they say, please help us look at it. And I think when I mentioned these war stories with you, Larry, we've seen things. One thing I'm still baffled about, and I know all content practitioners are baffled about this, is the tolerance organizations have towards their own redundancy in information, redundancy in metadata, redundancy in business logic that lives in several places. And we are often like explaining water to fish and showing like you have all this redundancy in your landscape. And that is something we see, of course, in all these orgs. And why is this? Because it's difficult. I have a dog. And Larry, in Holland, we love regulations, right? So when you walk a dog, there are a lot of things to think about. Do I have my bags? Do I need my dog muzzled? Where can I walk? And this public org, this has a website, and there is a page about your dog waste. Where do you have to put it? What are the fines if you don't do it? And there's another page with a lot of information about dog walking and dog waste, etc. And these are two pages on one website about dog poop. And how is my dog poop information better than your dog poop information? Well, I will tell you. One is from a communication department. Another is from a service department. These are two systems. They are both online available. But when you have to choose and you have to put down one system in favor of the other, it means one department gets favored above the other. And that is what we see all the time, is like the way organizations are structured or are financed streams back in the way the content is made or is polluted. And of course, we know all this as content practitioners and taxonomy practitioners, but we don't always have the power to change those prerequisites. And then we come to senior management to see this and to accommodate this. Because when you have like difficult policy about dog poop, then you get difficult content about dog poop.
Yep. And we talked about that, I think earlier, maybe over dinner. Anyhow, when we talked about that, the nature of silos, and that's kind of what you're getting at, is these organizational silos. Like the service people talk about dog poop one way and the communication people another. But I remember in that conversation that you're not super optimistic about ever breaking across silos, but you have other ways of dealing with this. How do you reconcile that kind of communication challenge?
Yeah, like breaking, I think breaking is not the word, but we connect. Like you have this very simple, like mushrooms that you see in the grass that are in a circle and they're connected below. That is what we always do. We come in and we see where's the energy flowing and with who we can connect. And I think that's one way we do that. Don't you think, Joyce?
Yeah. And I think from a taxonomy perspective or semantic mindset, so to speak, we ignore like the silos, and I look at what is all this content about. So once again, I see that I can identify that there's content on dog poop in one silo, and in another silo it's called not dog poop but dog shit or something. Waste. Sorry. It's called differently. But that's something we do. That's why we start with an audit, with an analysis of what is there and how is it called. And I look from a concept semantic perspective, and then Ilse looks from what is all the content and how is it structured and how is that. So that's another way of exposing, and then it's also giving that back to the organization. Did you know that there are like 2, 3, 4, 5 silos where you talk about these topics?
Yeah, and it seems like that is just exposing the issue often enough, or there's probably some more work after you've done that. How do you, kind of strengthen those connections between like what you identify, whether it's a structural observation or conceptual observation? You're like, okay, what do we do? How does it go from there?
Yeah, I always start with like the content. So that's the starting point, content, but also structures that are already available within the organization. Because if I start asking for, do you have any lists, navigation structures, synonyms list, etc., that's all a lot of concepts and words, terms in it. And I think that then giving back to the organization and to the people that have to work with it. That's the next step in that. But Ilse, can you?
Yeah, I think that's show don't tell, of course. Always like, people, orgs really don't know how much information they have stored in applications and websites, and so that's what we always do is also doing like an organizational assessment. What kind of org do we have at hand? Because when you have an organization who is built on merger, then you know that they might be merged like in name, but there will be systems and there will be procedures and there will be people who love their team, and that is still in your ecosystem. So we always do an assessment like what kind of org do we have at hand, and then we also adapt our way of presenting the challenges, because some orgs really want math, some want whiteboard people who can energize and do that. And I think one common approach we always use is start small, because we can design plans, we can design wonderful plans, and we can present the analysis. But the most important thing is to get it to production. Because we have seen a lot of plans of people and about like how to tackle this middle layer where all these applications live, and it's called, I think, the semantic layer, or it's about orchestration, like the field with all the content systems and information system, the data system. That is where we live. So we try to show that basically, like how they are connected. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that new layer you just described, that semantic layer, that's kind of where the two of you meet and collaborate, right? You have the structure of what the things are that you can identify and label semantic. That's where it gets kind of meta, because you're using semantics to categorize what you have content-wise, but then like what they are and the other attributes of them that you identify with the taxonomy. Are people talking about it? Do organizations think nowadays about a semantic layer or that orchestration, I think is the other word you used? Or how do the organizations that you've interacted with think about that? Or do you have to educate them about how to think about it?
I think both. Yeah, we've seen so some organizations call it taxonomy. Of course, knowledge graphs, ontologies is a buzzword, but also the semantic layer. I think we're more and more trying to teach them to not put it like you need a taxonomy or an ontology or any other content structure. What I usually do, if an organization asks for a taxonomy, but I see that they more need an ontology, I keep calling it a taxonomy, because that's how it's used within the organization, how they use it. That's where the buzzword comes from. So I would say we just call it like that. But then in meetings, etc., we try to insert the semantic layer, so to broaden the scope of what they need.
Yeah, and I think we empower, like teams we work with, the people we work with are mostly in one department, and then you meet people from another department. We give them these one-liners. We give them this, okay, when you are in an elevator, because we are not, of course, full-time embedded in these orgs, but part-time. And we say, okay, when you meet your VP or, I don't know, your CTO, then you say this. And so we try to empower the people around us when they meet the people that are able to empower them to say what it's about. Because it's like we're going to get question from what is the instant gratification from a taxonomy? Well, it's like water from the tap, right? You can drink it. It's necessary. I mean, so that is the story we need to evangelize. I think.
And we have to explain it over and over again. It's like a boomerang, you know. Sometimes we throw it away, we explain it, we have a nice presentation, and then after a few months it comes back from people you didn't expect it to be. But I think that's also for us good to be conscious about that, you know. For us, like the semantic approach is like water, but apparently that's not for everyone within an organization. So we have to repeat that message over and over and again, and keep empowering, as Ilse said, the people that have to spread that message.
That's great. I love that. I've heard that similar things from a lot of consultants, that like it's when they say back to you what you told them is that you know you've succeeded, and the message, especially when you hear it from somebody that you didn't directly say it to. So that's some really good. But yeah, I want to come back to so much of this is about connections, and you mentioned that a moment ago, Ilse, the connections between. I'm really curious about the connections between your practices, like the relationship, like how you two identify and kind of collaborate around the structure and the semantics of the content projects you work on.
Well, where we collaborate, we both audit. We go, like the most wonderful moment is when you have a new client and there opens doors to a whole new domain. And then I can see Joyce's eyes like twinkle, twinkle, and mine too, because we can go in and explore and look for the essence, like the essence in concepts, and for me, essence in redundancy or structure, the content modeling, different systems. So that is what we share. But structuring is, for me, is like you need to, well, most content is still blob. However, work we put in as content practitioners. So I need to structure and to condense. And that is where I meet Joyce, because structured content goes hand in hand with metadata. And Joyce is also doing her structuring. It's not like structure like a spreadsheet structure, like a content model, but concepts, right? Their structure.
Yeah, and that's where we combine what we do. And I think indeed it starts in the analysis phase, but it's also in leveraging back what we see with the organization. I think we get a lot of questions on what is this like a content type? Is this a taxonomy? And then we say, let's figure that out together. We're not working in silos over here, not in the content silos, but neither is the taxonomy or the content model, or however we call it. That's not siloed in that sense.
No, and I also think that, like, when you make an ontology, you capture tacit knowledge from an organization.
Yeah.
So this tacit knowledge about these concepts who live there in the different silos, you connect them, like this knowledge in people's heads, through your ontology or through your taxonomy. So then you capture, really it's about the connection between this human knowledge, which is implicit, and you make it explicit with a structural artifact, be it a content model or a ontology taxonomy. And I think especially now, when we are, like, since 22, we are working with lots of content that is grown. It's not modeled, it's grown. And then, especially then, and I know every org has an innovation or data science team who goes Gen AI. Okay, we know. And especially for these teams and for this development, it's very important to know, like, in-house you have structural artifacts that can help scaffold your Gen AI. So, like a taxonomy, well, this retrieval augmented generation you talk about a lot, Larry, it's like a taxonomy can be input for that, and ontology can be input for that. So I think, yeah, especially now, it's like these structural artifacts, products we make can capture like this human feedback loop in this new AI content grown world. I don't know if I'm too abstract. Maybe.
Oh no, I love the way you articulate that. I come at that. I've come at that from several different angles. But the way you just said it too is that it's like that the structure of both the conceptual work that Joyce is doing and the structural content work that you're doing, either or both of those can provide the scaffolding that you hang Gen AI content on. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the input from domain experts is like really important in that, as Ilse already said, because if we look at a large language model, for instance, that's all also based on data that is already there. And what I'm trying to do in a taxonomy is to also capture content or concepts that are coming up. So like new services. Of course, I can't predict the future, but I want to be taxonomy as future-proof as possible. And that's the only way to get that in the taxonomy is from feedback or input from domain or people in general.
Yeah, that's you're reminding me the example that's probably going to be in every book going forward is the pandemic. And wait, we didn't have COVID-19, but if you have a taxonomy in place, you have a place to put that, right? Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, COVID is like the biggest example. I don't think I could have predicted that either in the taxonomy. But if you look at new services, new products coming up within an organization, there are plans before there is a policy that will be made that is available before the content is ready. So you want to have your taxonomy ready for that or ontology.
Nice. Ilse, it looked like you were about to say something.
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey, just one point out. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about this quote from Jason Scott about metadata. Do you know this? This is really about connection. Like metadata is about connection, and he said like something like metadata is really a love note. It might be to yourself, but in fact, it's a love note to the person after you or the machine after you. And metadata, putting metadata on your content and information saves that other machine or that other person who comes after you a lot of time. So it's just, I love it. I love that quote. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. So
I just interviewed a metadata strategist. I don't know if you met Vera when we were in London. Vera Brozzoni, the BBC metadata strategist. I just interviewed her for the new Knowledge Graph podcast yesterday, and she used that exact same quote, that she said that metadata is a love letter to the future. So hey, I can't believe it. We're coming up close to time. But before we wrap up, I want to give each of you a chance. Is there anything you want to revisit from the conversation, or that you just want to make sure we share before we wrap up? And either of you can go for it.
Yeah, I would say like that's more to all content practitioners who are like in these silos and like hang in there. I mean, there's this Dutch saying that is verandering is volhouden, which translates to change is to persevere. So I would say keep up going on and have some patience, because I know you can talk to your senior management and address like this terrible CMS you have to implement forced by your implementation partner. And you addressed this twice and they didn't listen. But be patient, because in 10 years, your senior management will be retired and you can take that position. So keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Joyce?
Yeah. From a taxonomy perspective, I would say I would advise to, if possible, use your taxonomy, if you get asked for creating a taxonomy, as a Trojan horse. It's like bring all the knights, give it. It's a good gift. Present it as a nice gift, but make sure that, have that holistic approach and use it to change it's not only the taxonomy, but also the content, the breaking or embracing this content silos that are in there. And another thing is that in line with that, I think you should treat taxonomy creation and maintenance not as a project, because that's what I've seen also a lot. So, okay, now it's done. Thank you. It's a process. You have to keep working on it. The taxonomy is never finished in that sense. So keep nourishing and embracing that taxonomy.
And operationalizing it. And I love the Trojan horse image. That's beautiful. Like that's part of the future proofing, but it's also nice and diabolical, like this your evil plot to put taxonomy in the org.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are mercenaries, Larry. We said it. We've seen.
You should wear like army fatigues or something and berets and parachute in. No, I don't know. But hey,
we use this war metaphors like the Trojan horse, but basically we are like we love connecting with people, and we love empowering them, and so it's all about connection. And really, everyone needs a posse. So within the org, when we come in as external consultants, we are your posse, and it's wonderful to work the two of us together, because we are each other's posse, and that's very important. You can't do this alone.
No. That's a perfect note to end on. Oh, but hey, before one very last thing, if folks want to connect with you online, what's the best place to follow you or connect on social media or elsewhere?
LinkedIn.
I would say LinkedIn. Yeah.
That's always the answer these days. Funny how that works.
Yeah, no, because before we had Twitter. But no.
Rest in peace. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you both so much. This was a really fun conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you for listening. If you can think of a friend who might enjoy this episode, please share it with them. And please join us again for our next content strategy interview.